Welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage of the QAD Champions of Manufacturing conference here in Dallas, Texas. I'm here with Paul Gillin, my colleague, and I want to introduce Ron Davis. He's the Senior Vice President for Engineering and the Head of AI at QAD, and we're going to talk about Champion AI that was introduced in the keynote this morning. So Ron, welcome.
Wow, thanks for having me. I appreciate this. This is great.
So let's start, why don't we start just with a little bit of an overview of what Champion AI is all about, kind of get our audience up to date here. And one of the things I really like about what I heard this morning was your goal is to make it invisible and keep people central to everything that happens on your manufacturing floor. So could you just kind of bring that all together and give us an introduction point here for us to start off here?
Yeah, certainly. So what is Champion AI? Champion AI is QAD's agentic AI platform specifically designed for manufacturers, right? Champion AI includes a curated suite of AI and agentic capabilities for manufacturers, right? So these are things that that recognize the true messy reality of manufacturing. And you know, how we came to this whole thing is that it was this idea that, you know, Redzone, I originally hail from Redzone, and as part of that experience, we recognized over many years and many, you know, plant deployments, like we're in over 1,700 plants, and we see the data over and over again. And what the data actually shows is that when you engage human beings to actually act in the real time, when you empower them to actually take decisions, and then you recognize them for their work and their contributions, that you can drive these miracle outcomes. And we've seen this to show things like, you know, 29% productivity uplifts in manufacturing in as little as 90 days. So when we took our AI strategy and we wanted to do that, we wanted to keep that at our core point, which is that this idea of not replacing humans. And though I'm sure like a lot of folks are working on that, and I think that's interesting, I think what's more interesting is what those humans do when they're not doing the things that they don't want to do, right? You know, what are those things? It's not a zero-sum game. Here at Redzone, we have what we call an abundance mindset, right? Which is that, you know, you never could think about the TV. No one ever imagined the TV when electricity was created, right? So there's things yet to be created and imagined that, like, we want to unlock the ability for humans to do that, right?
Yeah, well, Paul and I just on the last segment had a big discussion about, you know, is AI going to replace, or is it going to give people superpowers, and is the net going to be growth? And, you know, we were talking about how you guys really emphasized in the keynote about, you know, this is about giving people new capabilities, new superpowers.
100%.
Right, Paul?
Yeah. And I'm wondering, how did you choose the agentic areas, where to apply agents in this first round? What were the highest leverage areas you discovered?
Well, that's a great question. So what we did is that we had actually had, well, first and foremost, you know, QAD, we're highly focused on manufacturing. It's not a side hustle for us, right? It's the main show. And so we have 30 years of manufacturing experience, working with manufacturers in the plants. Redzone, I mean, we're in the plants every single day. We know what really drives outcomes, and we know what people hate and those mundane things. So what we did is we sat down and we said, what are the areas, like the real things that AI could do? It wasn't about, you know, AI washing and, you know, trying to put a chatbot on things. It was like, in manufacturing, we're making real things that have real impact to people's lives and real bottom dollars. It's not just like electrons, right, that we're moving around. So when we started this, we had all this data, and we said, you know what, here's the reality of what AI does well. Here's where that AI falls down, right? And then here's where humans need to interact with that. And that was how we chose our list. And we started with this idea of like, let's remove we call them like our role-based agents that enable removing of sort of the mundane work. Then we moved on to optimization specific use cases where we were like real dollar costs, things like inventory optimization, where we can save working capital. And finally, this idea that like when you implement an ERP, it's traditionally like a horrible process, right? No one ever, I think Amit makes a great joke that it's like, if you want to clear a room, talk about an ERP upgrade, right? And so what we wanted to do is shift that entire mindset and to be like, let's not talk about ERP upgrades. Let's talk about value that we're going to drive. We're going to talk about upgrading to adaptive. We're going to talk about optimizing your working capital, freeing up your time. And so that was the mindset. It was like, how do we create a set of agents and capabilities that like enable value driving things for real people, not just AI whitewash.
You mentioned inventory optimization. I mean, can you go a little deeper on that? How are agents improving that process, and what kinds of returns are your customers seeing?
It's a great question. Our inventory optimization, and we were talking about it before we started, it's a very complex suite of software, right? I mean, you have traditional software stack, right? And then we add in sort of generative, then you add in agentic, right? And then, our teams have been working for over two full years. I mean, we did an acquisition in this space of a process mining company called LiveJourney 2 years back, roughly right before Redzone was acquired. And then that team and myself, we've been working on this capability. So we have built trained models on thousands of plants to actually do this. So it's a combination of everything, right? It's like, so how do we do it? We use generative AI to allow you to act or to interact with it to make it a much more natural language process. As you're interacting with that, we create a vibe interface, right? So more, if you've heard of vibe, like I believe that modern UIs are going to be moving more to sort of vibe-like interfaces. And then we allow you through that generative vibe interface to basically ask questions, and then the generative AI and agentic AI are running. It's actually talking to the machine learning algorithms, right? Figuring out which ones to run, and then allowing the human to take decisions. And when they do, agentic AI finally, and it's actually a really simple thing, it's updating the process parameters for how you run your product. So for example, that may sound really simple, but if you're a manufacturer, typically you have hundreds or even thousands of direct inventory items that have things like safety stock, lead times, and all of that is not fixed. It's not like most people set it and forget it because of the complication of it. But with our agentic AI now, we can surface the most important things, and then we can tell you when those things are wrong, and then focus humans on driving the best outcomes. We call it the vital few.
Yeah, and as I go forward in my life, right, I talk to a ton of companies all the time, and I keep a running list of what are the success factors. I mean, the people that are most successful, what are they doing? And there's 4 of them that really jump out, and I think you're doing all 4. One is go vertical and go nuanced in terms of the type of knowledge workers that you're trying to provide.
100%, yeah.
2 is take a digital labor mindset, that these guys being the agents, or the girl agents.
Our champions.
Our champions, yeah. And they're there to help people, not replace them.
Yeah.
3rd, think software bottoms up.
Yeah.
Right? And then evolve beyond automation to decision making.
100%.
Because AI today has been largely an automation story. Automate this content, whatever. It's a very different thing to be able to make decisions. And you're doing all those things, which I love to see, and you're doing it in a very vertical, domain-specific way.
Yeah.
Which is, if you're going to help knowledge workers, you have to have that domain expertise.
100%. One of the things that excites me most is that, and I think it's one of the things that makes us truly unique, it's like, I'm not trying to solve generic AI problems. We are wholly focused on manufacturing, right? And we have 30 years of experience, right? QAD does. Redzone has. And we have results, and I think this is the more important thing, right? It's not about AI. Actually, I'm not here for AI. I'm here to deliver results for our customers. Right. And I think what I like to say to people is like, if you want to look at our results and compare it to other people's results, I encourage you to do that, right? Because I think that's where you see where we shine, right? So I'm excited about that.
You talked about people. It was a focus of the keynote this morning was about people. And as Sanjay Brahmawar, your new CEO, pointed out, 30% of the manufacturing workforce is over 55. So you've got some convincing to do, and you've got people who maybe are more resistant to new technology innovation. What are you building into the product to make it to make the transition easier?
Another question I love, because this is a key driver for the future of manufacturing, right? So the first thing you should know is when we name Champion AI, right? First off, where it comes from is this root of human nature, right? And the first things, one aspect of human nature is people like to compete, right? They like to compete, and that seems very, people like to win, that type of stuff. And I think the best people who compete are the ones that compete with themselves, right? But it's the other part of the name that I think is more important, which is this idea that a champion is someone, like a king sends his champion to fight, to battle for him. It's your advocate, it's the person for you. And so that focus on humans is something that we've seen really resonate with folks, right? And specifically what we have is, one example of this, just one example of this is in Redzone specifically to our learning module, right? What we've seen before is in Redzone, we collect information from we engage and we empower and we recognize people. And when we do that, it makes these folks who once felt like, oh, technology's trying to replace me, it actually it puts them in a much more important spotlight, right? And it says, hey, we're going to give you a way so that you can share your knowledge with future generations of people. Right, and so for example, we've said we have customers where they've said things like, I was going to retire, but I chose not to because now I have a voice in the manufacturing plant, which I never had before. I have a voice and I can create content like what we call them plays, just where they explain how to do stuff. I can create standards which become training materials for the future. And then what happens is that in Champion AI, when a brand new operator becomes a line lead, and one thing I think most people in manufacturing know is the line lead is typically just the best operator, right? These folks, they just know how to do their job the best. They've not had any formal training. But now, because of our learning module, we take that knowledge and all of that information from the previous, from the senior people in the organization, and we bring that and push it right down to that line lead. So when they start their day, they have that person sitting on their shoulder. We call it our line lead champion. The line lead champion is sitting there saying, hey, here's what's happened on the shift before you. Some safety issues, some quality issues. Here's what your shift is going to look like. And then finally, here's some hazards and countermeasures powered by those senior people in that history. So I think what excites me the most about it is that with Champion AI, we're trying to create a space that respects and values the contribution that these people have made. And then actually put it into a living, breathing thing that continues along with the company forever.
And different roles have different champions specific to their...
Yeah, think about it like this. Here's another way to think about it. We're all senior fellas,
yeah.
right, in our careers.
Fortunately.
And there's a certain part of our career where we feel like it's our obligation to actually help people and give back to if it wasn't for the long-haired graybeards that taught me in my first day as a software engineer, I wouldn't be who I am today. So it's I think we have a duty as senior type of people to prepare these people.
So is that training process built into the agents?
100%, yeah, exactly. So all the training content and all that stuff is loaded into our RAG, which is our knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. So not only can you load up training or content directly in Redzone, you can also bring in your own custom stuff. So if you have, I like to say that training and especially things like safety is not only unique to your company, but it's extremely unique to your plant. And that's not something generic AI is going to tell you. Right. For example, your policies on lockout, tagout, if that's not right, if that's generic, someone loses an arm. We're not dealing with electrons here, we're dealing with human beings. And I think that is something that we take extremely serious. So we can't just throw out AI and be let's just wait for a thumbs up or thumbs down kind of thing, right?
Right, no, absolutely. You're dealing with real people doing real things in some environments that may be a little dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So let me bring you to this idea that it's more than just automation, but decision intelligence, and things like that. And these champions that you're pairing workers with can help problem solve, they can help plan, make better decisions. So the AI is going to help them do that. Not do it for them, but help them do that. You can't do that alone with LLMs and generative AI.
That's correct.
And so you obviously have built some sort of ecosystem of models and an architecture that an LLM and Gen AI is maybe
I
the
love
component
this.
of.
This is such a great question.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the depth of that.
Yeah, so this, I think, this is such a great question. If you go do the math, right? Like, just go do the math on this. It's exactly as you said. If I give an LLM like unlimited context, unlimited tools to work with, what will happen is it will become like very like unpredictable, high hallucination. The results that you get will be really bad, and it'll be very costly, right? And that's where the like core manufacturing experience of QAD comes into play. So when we built this, we built like one of the core tenets of agentic AI is what's called LLM augmented workflows, right? So it's this idea that you don't just like give the LLM everything and you ask it a question. You actually provide it with instructions and hints about how to solve that problem. And those instructions and hints that we put into the AI, I can do that because I have 1,700 people in the company that have implemented ERP 1,000 times, that have coached in productivity improvements, that have done safety. I can go to those people and say, hey, funny story, in Redzone we like to say there is nothing new under the sun. I don't have to go invent the best way to do something. I don't need LLM to go invent to tell me the best way to run a machine on a line, because you know what? The operator has been standing in front of that machine for 30 years. They know, right? But what I can do is take that knowledge, that knowledge that they have of that workflow, and I can give it to the LLM, and then what it does is it becomes much more efficient, much more accurate, and that's something that you're not going to get with generic AI, and you're not going to get with anyone who doesn't understand manufacturing, the true messy reality of it.
That's what allows you to go from predictions to judgments, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The knowledge.
Oh, and let me tell you one more thing. It's really cool. Another thing we've done is that when we did the acquisition of Process Intelligence, which is our process mining solution, this is built into Champion AI. So when Champion AI decides to take a prediction, that's not the end of it. We actually have a prediction engine within our process mining so that our agentic AI platform can go test its theories. Mm-hmm. So it's not just again, like you said, it's not just generative AI, it's agentic AI and traditional machine learning algorithms, right? All coming together in one solution that makes it highly reliable as a solution.
Yeah, some of our data, we just did a agentic AI futures index in September, and I did a cut on manufacturing, and I think it was 68% have some form of generative AI underway.
Yep.
But more interesting to me in this whole conversation is 65% said they plan over the next 18 months to start to infuse AI reasoning and decision intelligence.
Yes.
And you're right, generative AI works on data, and that can allow you to do predictions, but if you want to make judgments, data is not knowledge, so you need the knowledge, and it's the judgments that allow you to make decisions. So
yeah.
You guys are well down that path, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I think, when you have a true agentic AI platform, and we're very fortunate to have a strong partnership with AWS, where we know that the way our platform works, that it'll continuously be able to ride the waves of the craziness that's going to be AI over the coming years. That platform has not only, like we were saying, the ability to, like an LLM to think, but it has the concept of reasoning, and it can remember, and then next time it does something again, it can do it better. I think that's something that a lot of folks are still trying to get their head around. You find going back to how manufacturers are using AI, everyone always starts with the whole, you'll see people normally try to start with it by talking to it like Google, they'll try to do a Google search on it, right? And then they'll be, and then they'll move to a format and email kind of thing, and then you move from that to a place where you start asking it, you start telling it what outcome you want.
Right.
Right? And then seeing how it gets your outcome without telling it how to get there. And then I think finally, and I think for the real power users, and I think this is where Champion AI is, and I think this is where manufacturing will get is this place where you're doing things like you're asking it to help you build a plan. You're helping it harden its plan. So it's not just doing its reasoning and executing, it's you're helping it build this plan and then you tell it to execute. That is true, those power users. I mean, look at it, you can see it right now. People are using things like Claude Code. I'm an engineer, I see it, right? You see it in Claude Code. We don't build code like we used to, right? That's over, that's dead. So this new mindset of building a prompt, everything is a prompt now.
Yep.
So I think you're going to see users, like, as they understand it more, they're going to catch up to the cool capabilities of what really can be. And that's when the TV is going to get created.
Yeah,
something brand new.
That's when it gets really cool, right? We're just getting started with all this AI stuff.
Yeah.
We're running close to time here, Paul. Any last questions or observations?
Just when do you think, where do you think customers are in their journey right now? How quickly are these innovations being adopted?
I love that question. So, from a general AI perspective, everyone is all across the journey, right? From our customers' perspective, a lot of our customers are extremely, especially in manufacturing, they're careful about it. And I think you're seeing a lot of people that are careful to take it out of like that pilot phase and go into production. For us, what we are right now is we're in early adopters with several of our capabilities on our line lead champion, which this is about enabling the frontline line leads, as I was saying. We're in early adopters with several customers on our inventory optimization, and then our productivity one, we're also in early adopter. The line lead, we will release that, actually releasing within the next month. We'll be in total GA customers, Redzone customers, because that platform is continuously delivered. That platform is going to show up within the next couple months, like everyone's going to have it. It's going to be in production, full GA. And then as customers adopt our new agentic ERP, adaptive, and that Champion AI will come to them as well. So we're going to see, lots and lots of ERP customers move into that over the next year.
Great conversation, Ron.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. You filled in a lot of gaps here. And we'll be back very shortly. We're going to go watch Troy Aikman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, who's the keynote here, so we're going to go see what he's up to. And but we'll be back very shortly at the QAD Champions of Manufacturing Conference in Dallas, Texas. Stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon.